All right, so once again, technology has failed me in the same basement that I was in for Begonia. So that has forced me to forego the usual introduction to instead read you a partial listing of the credits for this movie, which is Hamnet. Hamnet, written by Maggie O'Farrell and Chloe Zhao, directed by Chloe Zhao, starring Jessie Buckley, Paul Mescal, Emily Watson, Joel Alwyn, and Jacoby Jupe. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm leaving the theater. All right, this is Ronald, and I am leaving the theater after seeing Hamnet. Hamnet! This is the part where I would say who was in the movie, so now I had to probably say that all at the top of the episode. But normally I would say all that right now. So normally at this point I say, for a complete cast listing, you can go to the link in our show notes. And then I say, I'm not here alone. I am here with...
Daryl C. Murphy.
Daryl C. Murphy. Zone.
Well, speaking for myself today.
I understand.
Yes.
I understand. Daryl C. Murphy speaking on his own behalf, not representative of anyone. As a matter of fact, I won't even put that in.
Thank you.
I'll take that out completely. This is the solo Daryl C. Murphy. I'm going to bleep that out. It'll be funny. All right, so Hamnet is the story of William Shakespeare and his wife Agnes.
Agnes.
Yeah, but I think that's how they said it. Yeah, okay.
I'm with it.
Yeah, okay. Like I think they were saying it wrong in that day. Well, we say it Agnes, they say it Agnes, which Anyong. All right. So anyway, it's the story of Hamnet and his wife. I'm sorry, it's the story of William Shakespeare and his wife Agnes, or however they pronounce it in the movie, and they have children, and they have twins, specifically Judith and Hamnet dies, and this explores the connection of Shakespeare grieving his son and writing the play Hamlet, as the two names are interchangeable. And this is something that has been discussed in the past through historians. People have written about this, and the writer of the book that this is based on fictionalized the whole story around it, which has now become this film. And obviously, it's a story about grief. But yeah, let's jump right into it. With that being said, Daryl C. Murphy, representing himself, what did you think of Hamnet?
I thought it was good. It's one of these slow build movies, and there was a point in the middle where staying awake was a bit of a struggle, but I'm glad I stuck it through. This movie, I think, touched on this. I think it touched on the moment that we're in, and I think you especially see it at the end, where there's a lot of unprocessed grief and trauma collectively, and I think this movie did a good job of hitting on that. And I gotta say, the woman playing
Jessie Buckley
did a great job, because in my mind, it's a story about Agnes and some dude who writes plays, because like she really did a great job of bringing that character to life. And you know, no disrespect to Paul Mescal, like I said, this is a fantastic movie. Everybody did a great job, but you know, she really carried this entire film. But yeah, and there were definitely moments in there, especially at the end, where it took everything in me to keep it together, because how could you not break down when you're a part of this collective. And I mean, I mean, for me personally, I've been thinking a lot about death. Death has been, circling the wagons. I've lost a friend, families. I got family members who've lost people, and just dealing with that, grappling with that, and then also thinking about death, what's coming as I get older, thinking about my parents, etc. All of that is in my mind personally, and then of course the community, the broader society that we're in, and I'm thinking about COVID, for one, just how we as a collective haven't been able to really process what that did to us and what that means, and then of course this the rampant death that we are just always around. I'm thinking about Gaza, thinking about Sudan. Just, it's a lot that we are carrying on the day to day, and I feel like a movie like this really gives folks a chance to, I guess, let it out a little bit. I might cry when I get home. I don't know, but I mean, it was definitely, definitely moving and cathartic in that way. That's my initial take after seeing it.
I absolutely agree with you. I was crying. I was over there. It was one of the, he gonna cry in the car. He was crying in the movie theater. It wasn't a game.
You did a great job hiding it.
I mean, I had my hands up on my face. No, I was, and that's the thing. It's funny because the last time I felt like I cried like this was 28 years later. And it was the same thing. And it was a mother and a son. Mother had cancer. And like, my mother died of cancer. And I've obviously been more in touch with my grief now. Well, I would say more in touch with my emotions, but more acquainted with grief now more than I've ever been. And so for me, I think one thing that sticks out to me is that for anyone who knows grief, when you watch this movie, what this film does a very good job of talking about some of the unspoken language of grief that you only understand if you've become acquainted with it. Meaning that if you have not suffered the loss, if you have not suffered grief, you might be able to sympathize with what's going on the screen, but there's a deeper understanding that I kind of felt, especially towards the end when we're actually watching Hamlet, that really just gets you right in the chest, where I'm like, oh, I get it. And I know this because there was words I did not understand what they were saying, but I knew exactly what was happening. I knew exactly what I knew Paul Mescal's William Shakespeare was doing. I knew exactly what that was. I knew exactly what Agnes I knew exactly what she was feeling. And there's a scene in there where the audience reacts in a very specific way that really, at that point, I'm like, well, I'm just going to let them fall now. Because there were several times in the movie where there's something overtly sad happening, but it was the processing of the grief that really then just drives the hammer right on home. And you're absolutely right. I was struggling with my rating on this movie, which we'll get to in a second, but I was struggling with my rating on this movie because I'm not a big fan of Oscar performance-driven movies. This is a performance-driven movie. The plot is not heavy. It is about the performances in this film. There's something that happens. There's a beginning, middle, and an end, of course, but this is performance-driven. But my God, the performances. Jessie Buckley, to me, is in the first place. The second one is Hamnet. And somewhere third or fourth is Paul Mescal. He did a great job, to be clear. Unfortunately, he was with the champs in this one. Talk to me about performances.
Yes, like I said, Jessie Buckley killed it. Give her everything. Wonderful job. And yes, the children were great. Hamnet's actor was great. I mean, yeah, not to take nothing away from Paul Mescal, because I think the moment that I'm thinking about, right, two moments actually.
I think I know one of them.
Is the one where he stood up to his father.
Yes.
And the other one is where he was struggling, and he knew that he had to go somewhere. He knew he had to leave. And I think as a creative, I felt that. And I feel like he did that very well, capturing that frustration and not being able to articulate it, just knowing that something is moving in you and you have to move with it. That was outstanding, in my opinion. But everybody in this film was top notch. And so, yes, give best actor, supporting actor, everybody should be nominated for something, because this did the job. And it's hard to do in these type of movies, there's an art to it because it's like magic. You're looking over here, and then in the end, you should have been looking the other way.
Yeah.
They're distracting you because there's little moments that there was some moments I got a little bit of foreshadowing I was able to pick up on. But building the way the movie built up to the end, the punch was like, oh my gosh, how did I not see this? And so yes, the acting, the screenplay, the directing, everything was fantastic.
Chloe Zhao, amazing. She does a lot of good job with portraits, a lot of beautiful shots of the forest. I'm not sure who the cinematographer was here. Whoever the DP was, they crushed it in this beautiful to look at, especially for them to be in like muddy England countryside. They really made the green so vibrant that it stood against the brown. And when they were writing by candlelight, still beautiful. There was just a lot that really worked there. I want to talk about one negative part of Paul Mescal that I don't believe was his fault. And I think it was, and I don't know if you'll agree, but there's a scene in which he actually says the famous lines to be or not to be, and that fell flat with me. And I remember at that moment, and I'll tell you why, because as he's doing something in that moment, and I knew what the screen was invoking in that moment. And for me to utter the lines at that moment felt a little bit cheap. I would have liked to have seen it cut in from the scene before, where someone was saying the lines and then cutting in with him doing what he was doing at the moment, rather than him saying it out loud. Because that scene where he's taking the lines from the guy and telling them how to say them, because he's also grieving and emotional about his son, that to me was like, okay, we get the point there. But then for him to actually say it to no one in particular at that moment, I'm just like, this is a little bit on the nose for me.
Yeah. And another thing, and I see your vision, and I'm with you. I think that would have been super powerful. But another point I want to make before I forget it is that while we're sitting here talking about crying and the sadness and mourning and death, this is also a really happy movie, because this is a movie about two people who love each other and who have a beautiful family and who managed to stay in community or do some sort of reconciling with family members who they don't get along with.
Yes.
And you're watching, in my opinion, the best example of what a family is. They were communicating, and there was space, there was a disagreement, there was falling out, and then there was an understanding. And there was one part that I really love as well, is when, I don't want to say too much, but there was a reveal to Agnes, and it started to become clear that something was happening, and she began to understand something. And I thought that was really beautiful. The question of, why would somebody be here?
Yeah.
And then sitting down to think about, I was wrong, which is beautiful. So yes, so this, there's grief, there's sadness. You will most likely shed some tears, but understand that you're looking at something really beautiful and happy, and at the center of it is joy.
I absolutely agree. I think joy is the right word to use. Okay, so here on Leaving the Theater, we rate movies out of 5 stars. You can use decimal points, that's fine. Just for some guidance, 1 is obviously terrible, 2 is I really didn't like it, 3 is it's good, it's all right, I would watch it again, 4 is this is a great movie. A lot of the Oscars movies and all that typically live around the 4 range, and 5 is this is perfect, this is great, I was satisfied, oh my God, wonderful. I don't give out a lot of 5s on Leaving the Theater. I'm only giving you that guidance so that you know, just so you know what's going on. But I think you have a good understanding of rating systems. With all that being said, out of 5 stars, what do you give this movie?
4.5 comes to mind, because I initially thought 9 out of 10. 4.5 comes to mind.
Okay. I'm going to give it 4.75. Yeah, I was in there, man. And here's the thing. I'll tell you why. Because I don't like movies like this. They're boring. They make me want to go to sleep. I don't want to see this. I don't understand them. I want the captioning on there. But none of that mattered when it reached inside me and pulled it out, and the acting was good. The direction was good. The trailer for this movie did not make me want to see this movie. I didn't want to see this movie, Daryl. I didn't want to see it. And then and I roped you into this because we were gonna hang out today no matter what. This is the reveal I'm giving you. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna go see it. He gonna go see it too. We gonna go see it together. And then I sat in the chair and I was like, I'm having a great time here. I'm really enjoying this movie. I'm really having a moment. And it solidified my 4.75 when you started talking about how good the movie was, because I just feel like me and you walked out of this having a very good experience. And I don't know. I don't like movies like this. I can't speak for you. I don't like movies like this. I know what I like.
I struggle with movies like this.
You understand.
But the payoff,
yes.
When the payoff comes, it's worth it. I had a similar experience with Past Lives.
Yes.
I was watching it with my fiance and we were laughing all the way through because she's seen it before. And I was saying to her, oh, this is boring. This is taking too long. Why are they doing this back and forth? Whatever. Right up to the end. And then when the end happened, messed me up, man. Messed me up. And I had a similar experience here, except I had the training, right? I was ready for it. And so I said, okay, this is going to be a slow build. I have to, like I said, I was a little drowsy in the middle, and I think that's just because of the nature of the movie. It's slow, it's setting you up, it's pulling you in, you got to pay attention. The scenery is beautiful, everything. But so yes, this movie was definitely, it is an exercise. It does take a little stamina, but in my opinion, the payoff is worth it.
I agree. And not too much stamina. It's 2 hours and 5 minutes. And Oscar movies typically average way longer than that. So this is something that you can definitely manage. Worth seeing. It is definitely an Oscar contention. I am concerned about some of my favorites that are up against this film. I think performance-wise, I'm going to see some losses. I think film-wise, Sinners, I think still has a chance. But I think performance-wise, I'm concerned. Especially, well, luckily, I don't think any of the women from Sinners will be up for lead actress. But anybody else, I'm sorry, Cynthia Erivo, not this year. Not this year. Jessie Buckley. I've seen Wicked for Good. Jessie Buckley acted circles around you. Oh my God. Anyway, with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of Oh It's Big Ron Studios. I mixed this episode, and if you've been paying attention, you've probably seen a lot of shifting and moving going on in the Patreon world. I have consolidated the Patreon under one place. It is now patreon.com/Oh It's Big Ron. It is no longer patreon.com/Leaving the Theater. It is patreon.com/Oh It's Big Ron. If you go there, currently you will see a lot of Leaving the Theater offerings on there. Nothing is going to change for the Leaving the Theater audience. However, I'm trying to expand it to the entire Oh It's Big Ron Studios family so I can be ready for new episodes and new shows that I'm trying to develop and launch moving forward. As well, I'm making a home for all of my Wait For It listeners. Welcome to the fold. This is a lot of labor. I am sitting in a basement right now. I do not have service. I cannot look up the prep that I did for this show, so I can't even tell you the name of the actor who played Hamnet. Unfortunately, you're going to have to Google that or click on the link in our show notes. But the bottom line is I did the work, and sometimes I have to deal with things like no service in a basement and recording out of my car and all the editing that I do for you every single week for this show, for Leaving the Theater, and not to mention all the countless work that I'm doing developing other projects for Oh It's Big Ron Studios. If that means something to you, if my labor of love, it is a labor of love, but it is still labor. If that means something to you, go to patreon.com/Oh It's Big Ron and help us out. Show art from Heather Wilder. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. For more information about Hamnet or Daryl C. Murphy, check out our show notes. You can follow me on Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, Threads, or Letterboxd at Oh It's Big Ron. That's at OHITSBIGRON. You can find out more about this show and other Oh It's Big Ron Studios shows by following us on Instagram at Oh It's Big Ron Studios. Leaving the Theater will be back soon. Thanks for listening. And thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Oh, this is fun. I was trying to keep it short. I didn't know I could say more.
You're good.
Yeah, this was fun.
I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm
Agnes.